My name is Stephanie Benedetto, and welcome to the Three Principles Global Community webinar. The Three Principles Global Community, or 3PGC, is a nonprofit organization committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles as introduced by Sydney Banks to people throughout the world. And today, our special guest is Marina Gala with What Does Trust Have to Do with It? As an exploration. I'm really excited to hear. Marina is a three principles coach and training professional working with individuals, groups, and organizations all over the world. She sees the understanding of the mind and the exploration of the human dimension as the ultimate game changers in life. She is the founder of Tres Principios en Español. I did all right? Not too shabby. A multi-platform project that brings the three principles understanding to the Spanish-speaking community worldwide. So welcome, Marina. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. It's always weird when you hear someone else talk about you, but it feels funny. I don't know. But thank you. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here and for being willing to listen. It's always a surprise and it's always a pleasure. So what does trust have to do with it? The reason why I chose this topic is because when I was first beginning to learn the principles, one of my teachers asked me, what would need to happen to make this time of studying and exploring worth your while? And the answer came straight away, immediately. And it was, if I can learn to trust life more, if I can trust life a little bit more, that will make it worth my while. And I was even surprised at that answer. But upon reflection, what I started seeing was that it was true. I didn't trust life. I couldn't bring myself to trust life. I remember in different moments in my life, people saying, you just need to trust God and you just leave it all in his hands. And I remember thinking, how do you do that? How do you let everything go and put it in the hands of something you can't see, of something you've never known, of something that is completely impalpable and that you have no proof of, and giving the suffering that I had been through and the trauma that I had been to, something I could not trust, would not trust. And I remember talking to one therapist in particular and telling him, you give me something tangible where I can let go of things, where I can put things, and I will. I promise you I will. But give me something trustworthy, give me something tangible. And well, he didn't have anything. He didn't have anything to give me, so I didn't. And I kept carrying all my thinking, all my problems, and thinking that I was responsible for them and that I needed to figure them out somehow and I needed to solve them somehow. And the idea of trusting felt so liberating somewhere in the future, like the mere hope of it seemed liberating. But I didn't know how to go about it. I didn't know how to bring myself to trust life. So I started studying the principles and exploring the principles, and I forgot all about that question. I didn't remember it for the longest time. And I just kept learning and learning and learning. Sorry about that, the dogs and the bell. There's not a lot I can do about it. There we go. So I was not always aware of how the understanding was impacting my life. I was not always aware of how the understanding, oh my God, was impacting my life. But at some point, I remember thinking, oh, it doesn't feel as heavy anymore. It doesn't feel like I have to solve things anymore. And so I remembered that first question all those years ago. And suddenly trust became a very interesting exploration for me. So I started paying attention in which areas of my life I was actually trusting more. And I was not feeling like I needed to be the one in charge. And to my surprise, there were a lot of areas, like pretty much all of them. I was feeling so free and so light and just able to not feel the need to get involved. And I remember a couple of experiences in particular, and I want to share them with you. So one of them was I needed to make a really big decision. Well, it seemed like a very big decision at the time. And so it felt important. And I felt like I needed to make the right decision and consider all the options and, wait them out for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I couldn't bring myself to make a decision. And that day I was having lunch with my children, and they were small. And the youngest one was trying to serve some water in a glass, so he held the pitcher up. And I really wanted to intervene and take the pitcher away from him and say, let me do it. But then the thought came into my mind, like you need to trust him at some point. Even if he goes wrong, you need to trust him at some point, because otherwise you will never learn to trust him and he will never learn to trust himself. And, if you keep doing it for him forever, it's never going to happen. And in that second, that conversation in my head was speaking about life too. And it was showing me that I didn't give life a chance to show me that it was taking care of things. I was never going to be able to see it. And so I decided to play and do an experiment. Even though it was a very important, very big decision, I said, okay, what if I don't make it? What will happen then? And I could feel the urgency in my question, but I was willing to just roll with it and see what happened. And so I avoided taking the decision and I allowed things to continue. And what happened was really interesting, because every day the information that I had around the situation changed. And according to the information that I was receiving, I could see my choice shifting from one to the other, but it kept changing as information kept coming. And in so many moments, it seemed like a good idea, like, oh, now I have all the information I need. I could choose this and know that I am doing the right choice. I am making the right choice. But then a couple of hours later, something would change and I would say, oh my God, it looks totally the opposite now. And so that helped me not make a choice and wait and wait and wait. What ended up happening in that particular situation was that I never had to choose. Life chose for me. And life seems to be a lot wiser than me. It seems to have been around for way longer than I have. And it chose perfectly. Even if at that time it didn't seem like it had chosen perfectly, I now recognize that it chose perfectly. Now, I have gone and repeated that experiment many, many times. And what has been really interesting has been noticing that sometimes life gets you to get away with not making a choice, but sometimes you have to make a choice. It kind of backs you up against the wall and you have to make a choice. But then you realize that, oh, well, if this is my deadline, if this is the moment where I need to make a choice, the information I have up until now is what will weigh the ultimate decision out. And I can trust that. And then in other occasions, what happened was that there was no clarity around which one was the right choice. And the deadline was here. And then it was like, well, okay, then I guess it doesn't really matter. Whatever I choose will bring whatever it needs to bring. And they can both be perfectly okay. And I remember right around that time, I read Muji saying, if there is a choice, if there is choice, there is no clarity. Which really impacted me, which was like, oh, right, if it looks like I have a choice, then there is no clarity. You see? And so it has become really interesting for me to have the different tastes of trust and the different ways in which I can trust life, but also myself in my collaboration and my interaction with life. Now, here's when it got really interesting. There's one morning a few years back, and I was watching the sunrise, and the water was a body of water, and it was so flat, immobile, and a kayak was crossing it, just breaking the water, breaking the surface of the water like that. And I heard a voice inside saying, your understanding of trust is full of future and preference. What does trust become if you take away future and preference from it? And I thought it was a really interesting question, because then I started seeing that, yes, the way we usually understand trust is full of future and preference, right? Like when we tell someone, I trust you, it's almost like I'm warning you, you know my preference, so you better do what I want you to do. And we are very good at trusting the light at the end of the tunnel and the calm after the storm, but we really suck at trusting the storm and the tunnel, which is what is happening right now. So what happens with trust if we take away time and preference? We are left only with right now and what is going on right now and how we are experiencing right now. And the only option we have is to give ourselves completely and fully to this moment, knowing that we don't know. So again, the mystery, knowing that we may have no way of knowing. And if it is looking dark and stormy, we need to know that that is exactly what needs to be happening. And if there is no clarity, that is exactly what needs to be happening. So one becomes an offering to the present moment. In absolute faith. We bring ourselves fully to whatever is going on right now, outside and inside ourselves. Because it's not just about trusting outside, is it? It's also about trusting inside. The experience that is arising in us and letting it inform us. Allowing it to be in us. Allowing it to bring whatever it needs to bring. So I lived with that question for quite a few months, and I started seeing all these textures around it, all these possibilities around it. And what that did was that it started to dilute the separation between me and life, so that I did not need to learn to trust life or myself. or wisdom. It began to look like nature. So I can understand myself as separate from nature, and I can have the experience of being separate from nature, but I can't be separate from nature. And so I can think of myself as separate from life and separate from wisdom. And I can have the experience of being separate from life and from wisdom, but I can't be separate from life and wisdom, because life is pure intelligence, pure wisdom. And it guides every one of its manifestations. And so suddenly there was no more trusting life, trusting wisdom, trusting myself, trusting my experience. No, there was just trust. There was just an experience of pure trust, living in trust 24/7. Understanding that I might lose the experience of it because of my thinking every once in a while, but understanding also that losing the experience of it because of my thinking every once in a while is okay. It's necessary. It reminds me of my fragility and everyone else's. It keeps me from becoming cocky and saying, I know more than you guys because I don't get lost and you do. It keeps me from making up stories about myself and about others. And so you really see not only the wisdom and intelligence of the design, but the kindness of it. And then you discover that intelligence and wisdom are kind. And if they are kind, why wouldn't you have a full experience of trust and faith in them? Now, interestingly, the experience of absolute trust and faith, what it has brought has been freedom. I don't know if I will be able to articulate this, but I am seeing a lot of people looking for freedom, and they are looking for it without trusting, without bringing their trust with them. And it makes me think of Victor Hugo, who says, man is willing to do anything to be happy, except to let go of his suffering. So we want to enter happiness, but we want to bring our identity of suffering with us. It can't come with us. You see, we can't bring it. We cannot enter the experience of freedom if we don't bring trust. It's impossible. We don't seem to see the connection in our day-to-day life. But if we just pay attention for 5 minutes, we will see it. It is so evident, so obvious. Freedom it has brought has a lot to do with not needing to figure it out, not needing to solve anything, not needing to intervene. But it has also brought the freedom to feel anything. When we are free to feel anything, we are truly free. You see? We are so terrified of feeling. We want to manage our experience all the time. We want to reject suffering and doubt and insecurity. But when you give yourself permission to feel anything, aren't you 100% free inside? When you understand that every single one of those emotions is bringing valuable information about how you are navigating your psychological life. When you understand that every one of those emotions is pure intelligence wanting to guide you to your best possibility, why would you reject any of them? It doesn't make sense. And so you allow them all to come and you allow them all to give you information. And I want to be incredibly clear on this. The kind of information that emotions bring is not always rational. It is not intellectual. We cannot figure it out most of the time. But it does bring information. It brings information to the heart. It brings information to the soul. We don't need to understand it intellectually. We need to trust it. That's what we need. We need to go with it. Safe in the knowledge that it is guiding us to our best possibility because it is the intelligence of life itself. And so the intellectual mind cannot understand the way of the heart, and it cannot understand the work of the heart, and it cannot understand how emotions are informing the heart and are informing the whole system and our wisdom and the interaction between us and it. And we get into so much trouble by trying to figure it out. We second guess ourselves, we doubt ourselves, we feel insecure, we feel inadequate, we feel terrified. And we lose so much beautiful, precious time and energy and resources in all those things. As a result of all this exploration, I feel less and less inclined to spend time in that kind of thinking. But I can allow it to happen in the back burner. I can allow it to happen in the background. It just doesn't stop me anymore. I go on with life. I do what I need to do. I take the next step that is clear. And I don't worry about that thinking. Interestingly, and I need to say this, miraculously, when you don't touch those thoughts, you let them be, but you just keep living, keep going, keep following guidance and wisdom and the next step that is clear to you. You may not know where you're going. You may not understand why it makes sense to take that step or send that email or make that call or meet with that person. But trust me on this. Life is building for you. It is building a life and a world of possibilities that you could not build for yourself. And then after 10 or 15 or 20 or 31 of those steps, you turn around and you see where you are and you cannot understand for the life of God how you got there. And it's because you didn't get there. It's because life brought you here through that guidance. When you don't question that guidance, when you don't allow those thoughts to interfere with the guidance, when you don't put them at the same level of importance. There is divine guidance, perfect, beautifully intelligent, wise guidance, and then there is insecure thinking. They are not of the same value, you see? And we treat them as if they were. I heard Aaron Turner say something yesterday that kind of said, it kind of just fell on the right place. And he said, it doesn't matter what thoughts you have. It matters what thoughts you trust. And so, again, back to trust. What are you willing to trust? Your tiny little personal mind that is always afraid and terrified and insecure, or divine guidance of the universe? Where is your best bet? I mean, come on, right? So trust has absolutely everything to do with our understanding, everything to do with our grounding. And I have heard so many people say, oh, the deeper you go into this understanding, the kinder you become. You know, wisdom is what? Wisdom is kind. Yes, it is. But oh my God, is it trustful? Is it free? Look at your teachers, observe them, observe their level of trust, their level of freedom. Their level of, oh, well, I guess that's what needed to happen. I don't know. Let's just take the next step. Someone lent me a book a few months ago, and it was about the experiences of a nurse that has spent the last 5 or 6 decades just being with people as they die, just walking with them as they die. And she has been collecting all these conversations and all these experiences and everything she has seen around it. And it's magnificent. It's incredibly beautiful. But one of the things that she was saying kind of caught my eye in relation to this trust theme. And it said, pretty much every person, when they come face to face with death, they recognize that all their difficulties were learning possibilities, understanding possibilities, and that most of them were not taken advantage of because they were rejected. And so she goes on to say that most people say, oh my God, if I had just known the possibilities behind that, I would have been so present. I would not have rejected it. I would have learned, I would have sucked the information out of it to allow myself to grow. Now you see, do you see how there's trust in that? There's trust in the dark tunnel, and there's trust in the storm, and there's trust in the whole thing. There's just letting go. It's kind of paradoxical to think that there is absolute freedom in surrendering, in surrendering to guidance. But it is exactly that. Because then we don't need to figure life out with our tiny little human mind that has only a tiny little perspective of how many years, 40, 50, 60, oh my God, right? 40, 50, 60 years, and only from one point of view, which is I. Come on, that's not wisdom. That's peanuts. can't figure this out, guys. So our best bet is surrender. And you cannot surrender to something you can't trust. And I don't know what your paths are like if you need to, take the picture and do it yourself for how long. But oh my God, I can assure you that if you pay attention, you will see life begging you to take a chance on it. Trying to serve you, desperate to guide you, but respecting at every single moment your freedom to choose not to be guided, not to be relieved, not to be taken care of. You are free. You see, so there's this huge intelligence, absolute wisdom, taking care of the universe, ruling the whole thing, wanting to guide you, but it trusts you to the point where it can say, well, if you choose another way, I will let you experience exactly that. I trust you that much. Anything you choose is allowed. You see? We're so loved. We are so trusted by life that we get to choose to suffer. And we get to choose to act out our suffering and create horror and misery for ourselves and for others. Even that is trusting. So the question becomes, how do you want to live? Given that you're being absolutely trusted by the universe, that the only thing it wants to do is serve you and carry you away in a river of wisdom and learning and bliss and experience, all sorts of experiences, good, bad, horrible, perfect, the richness of life. Or do you want to stay in your very small controlled corner and trust only that? Because I'm going to tell you something. If life is willing to let you choose, I am willing to let you choose too. I am not going to hunt you down and try to convince you. But I will bring the question to the table. And so now I want to hear from you because the question has been brought to the table and I will shut up.
So it's over to you time now. If you can click the reactions button on the bottom of your screen and raise your hand, it will allow Marina to see you and we can call on you to ask or answer that question, what's coming up for you.
I think they don't trust me, Stephanie.
Oh, Caroline does.
Hey, Caroline, good to see you.
Hi. How are you?
I am really well. How are you?
I'm good. Marina, I heard that. That was beautiful. That was so, so beautiful. And like I really hear it, it's amazing how we trust in something, even though, like, I can look back at the past and trust in something, even though I didn't like the experience, It was horrible. I kept going back to it. Why did I do that? And then to just trust that outside of there, because it's like you said, we can't see this, can we? So, and I just love how you spoke about it. It was just so beautiful that I felt that, and I put my head down because I felt the love. I cried. It was so beautiful. I love what you touched there. It was just really fresh and wow. So yeah, I
Thank
just wanted
you.
to say thank you. And also no one else put their hand up, so I thought I'd start the ripple effect. So, but that's it now. I'm quite happy to be quiet, but no, thanks, Marina.
We're trusting that would happen. Hey, Caroline. Yes. And what
Yeah.
you're pointing to is, you see how at the beginning we started with, no, give me something that I can see and then I will trust.
Yeah.
And we go back to St. Thomas, right? Give me
Mm.
something that I can see and I shall believe. And it's actually the other way around. I mean, the whole picture thing is like, no, you need to believe so that that can happen.
Yeah. I had like, because I'd already seen so much in the principles and different areas of my life. And I remember I was in Spain. I was with Liliana, Jack Pratsky, Gabriela Maldonado. They were doing a course. And I just literally, I was in the room and I was just feeling myself almost being like letting go, but then I pulled back. I kept pulling back the whole time. And I just really got caught up in my thought. And I thought, wow, do you know what it is? I said, I'm absolutely petrified to let go and trust in case I free fall and there's nobody there to catch me. And to trust in love and to trust in that. And I really saw that, really saw something fresh over those few days. And when I saw it and I free falled, Marina, my God, I cried for 2 days. I could not stop crying. I was relieved that I was okay. It had my back. And it didn't hurt me. And it just was a beautiful feeling with it, you know?
Yes.
But, I resonate with the trust thing. So.
Good, really good. You know, it's interesting to really ask ourselves, what would free fall be? Like, if you trust and you let go, what if everything falls apart? Like what? How? No? Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that, Caroline. You're Ewan. Come on. Ewan, come on. It's good to see you.
Hi.
Hi.
From this corner of the world, a big fat yes. I have to share something. I'm a part of Michael Neal's Creating the Impossible. And we're in on the last stretch, week 11 out of 13. And I finished my project today.
Congratulations.
I'm so filled with euphoria. And during this project, I'm observing myself trusting. My project was repairing my motorcycle. It broke down in the beginning of the project. It wasn't meant to be the project, but it turned out to be. I'm not the mechanical, but I reassembled the engine. I fixed the cylinder. It was broken. I put it back all by myself. My guide was the work handbook of the motorcycle. It's turned out to be my Bible. And last week I did the first tryout. It started, wow. But it didn't go so well. It misfired and it was smoking black smoke and it was bad. So, F word. I went home and I've been home working other things during the weekend. And today I went back with a ID. And it turned out, yes. And I don't know where it came from. I don't.
You can trust the idea even though you don't know where it came from. You see the beauty of that? Oh my God, yes.
So I did my first test run today and it worked so beautiful. It's a beast.
You look stoked, but you also look blissed out. You want
Yes, I am. I am.
for you. Good for you.
So, yeah. And it's been like this for the last year or so. I've been around the principle since 2007. Michael Need. And this last year has been amazing.
Getting better.
Yeah. That feeling of trust is making wonders with the erroneous thought of the personal mind. So yes, a big fat yes from Sweden.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. I like what you said. Trust is doing wonders. Who thought trust could be a strategy, right? Isn't that mind-blowing? That thought could be a strategy for well-being and success. I mean, how cool is that? Because I remember at the beginning of my exploration with trust, I am a language nerd, right? I love words and I love the origin of them. Anyway. And I remember thinking, well, what is the origin of trust? Does it belong to the one that gives it, or does it belong to the one that receives it? Isn't that an interesting question? Depending on how you answer that, you get a completely different construction of what trust is and the possibilities around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
To me, trust just is.
Trust just is. Yes. But for example, I'm going to give you an example with a word thing, right? I don't know if in Swedish you have the same thing, but in Spanish, we have a very clear word for the beggar, for the person that is asking for money. But we don't have a noun for the person that gives the money to the beggar, which is really interesting. And then when we are talking about charity, we have a noun for the charitable, but we don't have a noun for the person that receives the charity. Ha! So we are, through language, making charity belong to the giver and begging belong to the beggar. Do you see what I mean? And because language constructs a lot of what we think and a lot of how we relate to life, the whole question about who does trust belong to became really interesting to me. But I don't want to go into your minds and begin intellectualizing this, because you are right, Ivan. Trust just is. Trust just is. And you're either in it or turning away from it, giving your back to it. And it's a completely different experience of life. So thank you for your yes, because through your yes, you are bettering my universe, and I am grateful for it. Thank you. Hi, Justin.
Hola, thank you so much. That was like
Hola. Gracias.
that was like simultaneously a sucker punch and a giant hug from the universe. Somehow,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
totally scrambled my brain in a great way. Um, and yeah, just appreciated your take. I felt like I was listening to a spoken word artist. It was really cool. And
Oh, wow. That is
yeah,
such a cool compliment. Thank you.
yeah, you brought it. No, just absolutely, absolutely appreciate it and just feel so nice. And Caroline, hi from I was there with you in Spain during that moment, and I had the same moment somehow, and it's so nice to be reminded of that. So I just yeah, really just let I would say I let faith go a while ago, and I tried living without faith for about 10 years. And
How did that
then,
work out for you?
well, I think it all worked out. I mean, it's kind of what you were saying, right? It's like, okay. And then I look back and it's like, well, yeah, it did really work out. And, well, and, life's, life's pretty good. I mean, it's after being hard, it's pretty good.
You
Without
see,
going into detail.
but you see, Justin, it all works out. You just have a different experience of it, whether you trust or you don't. It all works out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the trust gets backfilled.
Well, yeah, I guess it does,
Yeah.
but it's all allowed.
Well, so this is what reminded me was that at one point I went down a reflection on faith, which is I don't know if it's the same word as trust or I think there's different angles, but what I stumbled into was the word confidence, which in Latin means with faith. And that started to make a lot of sense to me. It's like con means with, fide, confide is faith with faith. So you're either with faith or without faith. And that started to make a lot of sense to me. Like when I do have faith in myself or something, my confidence is there, and things tend to go. They tend to be more fun. They tend to be more smooth. They tend to be more flexible. Um, when I am without faith, I tend to be more in that personal experience that I loved the metaphor of 40 years versus the entire universe. So
Well, I really want to thank you for bringing that definition of confidence to the table, because that's exactly what it is. That's all confidence is, with faith.
yeah, it's just so anyway, I'm kind of scrambled, but in a great way, and I wanted to share what happened on a call with one of my clients today. I'm a coach, and she was all up in her head driving into a meeting, really frustrated with all kinds of complex details in a leadership team that's not behaving well. And she was driving into the city for the meeting, and then there was a rainbow over the mountains. This is in Boulder, Colorado. And she's like, I'm really distracted by the rainbow. And I'm like, go, just stay with the rainbow. It was beautiful. It was like my mom still lives in Boulder, and it was like she like fired up a rainbow machine or something. It was perfect timing.
Perfect.
And it was such a nice shift, and she could feel the shift, and we both sort of just appreciated that rainbow. I'm in Germany right now, so I couldn't see it, but the after that we didn't quite get to the end of the call, but what occurred to me, I'm just remembering now, is at the end of it, I said, I have so much faith in you to say the right thing in that meeting.
You just realized that.
Yeah. That's what occurred to me at the end of that call, to sort of like, yeah.
Perfect.
And she's like, yeah, you know, now that I think about it, I do too. And I was like, oh my God, I love this job.
Yes, stay with the rainbow. I agree. Yes, good advice.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for bringing it. That was beautiful.
Thank you,
Perfecto.
Justin. Thank you for being here.
Gracias.
Gracias. We had Danny, my man, who just disappeared. And so now we have Johanna. Please, Johanna, and we will see if Danny comes back.
Hi, Marina, and thank you so much. I kind of did a little bit of cooking in the middle, so I might have missed something. But I wanted to ask, maybe this is a little bit about the words, and stop me if it is, but is there a difference between trust and just peace? Or is trust the path to peace? Is it the yeah, I can let go, I won't die ultimately, I can let go? Is that the trust? And is there a difference? Is it the path? Is it?
Well, I guess it all depends on whether you see it in time or as a pure experience. Because as a pure experience, they are synonyms.
Yeah, all right, good. Because
trust, faith, presence, surrendering.
Yeah.
All the same.
Yes, because I've had a journey with the word acceptance. I wrote something a year ago and I wrote acceptance and I couldn't understand what I meant. Because it was like, why accept? That kind of says that something is defined as intrinsically bad, and then I have to accept it and as if it exists, instead of, I don't know what other word to use, but it stood out from what I had written as something, all right, shoot, I have to live with this, whatever it was, and I will, so good for me. But trust would have been a better word, or just peace of mind, or I don't know. But
here's the thing, Johanna, what you're bringing is really interesting, because you are right. We very easily confuse acceptance with settling for something.
Yeah.
And it's not the same thing. Settling for something is, okay, well, I guess I'll have to live with it and I'll just do the best I can. And accepting something is entering agreement with what is, so that when we enter agreement with what is, when we accept, our state of mind changes, our consciousness, our state of consciousness rises.
Yes.
And when our state of consciousness rises, we can be informed differently. And so when I am not accepting reality, when I am at odds with reality, wisdom cannot inform me about reality. It can only inform me about my disagreement with it, because it needs to be solved so that it can inform me about reality. So let's take grief, for example. And psychology breaks down grief in like 5 steps, right? Guys, help me out. It's denial, anger, sadness, something. But if you look at that, it's all just a process of acceptance, different degrees of acceptance. When we are in denial, wisdom cannot inform us on how to live in the reality without that person anymore. And so the feelings, the emotions that we experience during denial are the way wisdom is letting us know that we are in disagreement. And it is a call back to agreement, if that makes sense. And so as you slowly start to agree, then wisdom can inform you about how to interact with this reality. You see, when there is a hostage situation and they send in the expert negotiators, yes, if the person that is holding someone hostage thinks that's a good idea, it's because their state of mind and their state of consciousness is compromised. Yes. And so the negotiator, the work of the negotiator is to rise their state of mind, their state of consciousness, so that they can see more possibilities. Because if we see more possibilities, we will naturally choose the best one, because that's how we are designed. Everything in the universe is designed to choose the best option, the most optimal option. Yes. And so if the negotiator can help the person rise their state of consciousness and see more possibilities, holding someone hostage will immediately look like a bad possibility. Yes. And this is what they do. You know how they raise their states of consciousness? They get them to agree. And so they tell it, because every time our mind agrees, it relaxes. And so they tell them, you are feeling alone, aren't you? Yes. And you are feeling that nobody understands you. Yes. And so this whole accepting thing relaxes the mind, and it allows us to enter better states of mind. So acceptance, again, is the best strategy possible, because then you enter agreement with reality, and then wisdom can inform you about how to deal with it. It is not, okay, acceptance, and then I do nothing about it. No, it is, oh, this is reality. Okay, what do I do about it? What can I do with it? And there is a huge difference, because in one of them, you are closing the possibilities, and in the other one, you are opening them up. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think I do. And I it's something around where peace of mind would be. It's still, it's not about the word actually, but it's my way of finding in me the small differences that I experience. So where acceptance and trust might be, I'm on that path, and sometimes I have peace of mind. That would be a little bit more of nothingness. Do you see what I mean and what I'm asking about?
See what you mean, and what I would like you to leave with, Johanna, is acceptance brings peace of mind.
Yes, exactly. So that's perfect for me. It was a little just a hook in a thought, and now it's gone. So I'm happy, and thank you. This was beautiful, Marina.
Wonderful. Thank you, Johanna. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for sharing.
Oh, beautiful. And we have come to the end of our time together. A huge thank you to Marina. I am committed to getting you off to your flight to see your father on time.
I usually have time to stay and keep chatting, but today I really have to go. I really have to get to the airport and go meet my dad. But feel free to write me a message, and we will continue the conversation in any way we can. Okay?
Yes, beautiful ones. Thank you so much, Marina, for joining us. And we will be back with the next 3PGC webinar with Carolina Barker on April 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern, same place. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a gorgeous day.
Thank you, everyone. Love.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Love and trust. Yes.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Bye.